Hey, this is Mark A. Altman.
This is Darren Doctorman.
And this is Ashley Miller.
And we are the Inglorious
Treksperts. And if you love Star Trek, you want to listen every Thursday to Inglorious Treksperts, featuring the stars, writers, producers, directors, and more, talking about every series from the original series to today.
And for more, subscribe at trekspertsplus.com.
It's the logical thing to do.
And keep on trekking, ingloriously, of course. That hurts worse than the uniform. New episodes available every Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts. Or subscribe today at trekspertsplus.com. But keep on trekking, ingloriously, of course. Hey, this is Mark A. Altman.
And this is Darren Doctorman.
And this is Ashley Miller.
And we, yes, are the Inglorious Treksperts. Oh, my goodness.
Damn
what
it.
the?
Well, guess what? We knew the way to San Jose. We knew it.
Well, now we do.
We found our way there. So we're going to be talking about this incredible GalaxyCon San Jose experience we had.
It was one for the books.
It was one for the books, indeed. But
Yes,
before
for
we
sure.
do that, I know some of you are wondering, where is Isaac Altman in his Star Trek marathon? And I just want to give you an Isaac Star Trek update. He is right now on the episode Tuvix. And
Oh, my God.
And his question to me is this when Voyager gets good? And I said, well, it gets better for an episode. This is a better one. But you know, he just loves Deep Space Nine, as we all do. And just saw For the Uniform yesterday. And today was Tuvix. Oh my.
Well, there you go. For the Uniform is great.
Yep, sure is.
Yeah.
Sure. He's used to me popping down to watch Deep Space Nine. He says, "Oh, now it's time for Voyager." I'm like, "Gotta go."
Yep. Stuff's happening. I got to watch. You know what? There's some paint on the wall and it's drying and it is not going to watch itself.
Oh, my
Okay. Yeah.
He was very proud of himself on the Pluto game. He turned on Pluto and it was a shot of McCoy walking alone to the transporter with Shatner and Kirk and Spock watching, sort of, with somewhat depressed as he walked. He goes, "For the world is olive, I have touched the sky." I'm like,
Yeah, pretty
impressive,
good.
most impressive. Not as good as when we were leaving for the first day of school, and he told me to turn on leaving dry dock when we backed out of the driveway. That was very exciting. Very exciting.
Oh my God. I don't think these kids can steer. That's what I'm going to say when Caden starts driving.
Well, we had a great weekend. We just got back. We're recording this right after the return, and I have to say, it was nice to wake up to a bunch of emails. We got thank yous from Ralph Sinetsky, who could not have been happier with the experience. He said that he feels he has been immortalized in the annals of Star Trek history now that we united him with Bill. Lawrence Luckenbill, who heard about all the nice things Bill had to say about him and that we had to say about him and was deeply appreciative. And of course, the mighty Bill Shatner himself, who just said that we did a great job with our Star Trek V commentary. So
That's awesome.
Yes.
It was fun.
Before we dive deeper into San Jose, I do want to share something that I shared on my my personal feed this morning. Here is my Peabody Award for the Star Trek Institutional Award, and my small part as the associate producer of the Director's Edition of Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
That is fantastic, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you want to see my Rocky and Bullwinkle award?
I do.
Now that you have Mr. Peabody, I don't have one, but
Oh.
I'm so happy for you. What a terrific honor. And it's so great to see you as one of the recipients and to be part of this incredible nearly 60-year history of Star Trek.
Just to make it clear, I'm not special in all this. Everyone who worked on Star Trek over the past 65 years
But you are
is
special.
eligible. But I am special because
You're
I actually
special to me.
I paid to get the award. So
Yeah, see, Darren, you know what, Darren?
But it's
I don't,
all good.
I don't like this. I don't like you. You are special. You're
Well,
part of
yes.
60 years of this incredible legacy of people who
I
contributed
agree.
to Star Trek, and you should be just proud and regardless of
I
whether you
am
had to pay for
proud
the
that
actual
I had the
statuette.
opportunity. Absolutely.
It began with a dream. Now it is
Began in a
reality.
nightmare.
small town in rural New Jersey.
I mean, you watched Star Trek in black and white, recorded on cassette tape, and here you are, all these years later, sitting with a Peabody for your contribution to Star Trek on your mantle.
Here
That's
we are,
extraordinary.
face to face, a couple of silver spoons.
I'm hoping to find.
Why am I the
two of a
only one
kind.
who's impressed with this?
I'm impressed. I actually am
think it's
very
amazing.
impressed.
I think it's
We're
great.
all
I
very
think it's
impressed
cool,
down here.
and I'm glad that Star Trek got the appreciation that it deserves, and that I'm a part of it.
Yes.
You are part of it, and you also worked on Voyager and Picard.
Yeah, but I didn't want that on the award.
You didn't want that. That'll go to Tuvix, to Tom Wright. You don't need that on your messing up your Peabody Award.
Yeah.
It's
Now
extraordinary.
the Sherman Award, that's something else.
That's right.
That's what I was going for with the Rocky and Bullwinkle, because they were always on the same show. It was like
That's
Rocky
right.
and Bullwinkle, and then it was Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
And Sherman, right? And that
Yeah.
episode where they burned Atlanta was crazy, dude.
They
That
burnt
didn't
Atlanta.
happen. Ash, that
What
did
is it?
not
How
happen.
does that tie in with Gone with the Wind? What is going on here? What is going on with this crazy episode?
No, that was on
Sherman
Tennessee
for the love of-
Tuxedo.
God.
Oh, God.
Mr. Whoopi helped them destroy Atlanta.
You know, and I want to apologize to the audience because we're all a little dazed and
We're a
confused.
little punchy.
We're a little
Yeah,
punchy because
loopy.
it was a really exhausting weekend, but it was an amazing weekend. I think that we just still are in shock
And all.
how extraordinary the weekend was and how exhausted we are.
Yeah.
So we're going to tell you a little bit about this. First, before we do, we met so many of our listeners there who were supporting, came out to San Jose because they wanted to see the Shatner commentary with the Treksperts. They also heard we were bringing Ralph Sinetsky there. A lot of listeners, some making their first convention appearance. I want to particularly give a shout out to Brian from the podcast Marry Trek Kill. Brian was inspired to start his own Star Trek podcast as a result of listening to our show. And
goodness.
I think that's awesome. So it was great that he stopped by to say hello and tell us what a fan he is of the Treksperts. And I thought that was really nice.
Absolutely.
But speaking of really nice, we had we once again had Treksperts assemble, and we brought together a team of amazing elves from our social media director, John Carney, the great Joe Sikoriak, who has designed so many wonderful soundtracks and is now doing these great cartoons, comic books where he's chronicling his experience as an original gangster at the old conventions in the 70s.
Or is that an original geekster?
Original geekster, I guess that's more accurate, and or nerd as they were called then.
Nerds.
And Joe, of course, was on our show a couple of seasons ago talking about his experiences at the original Star Trek conventions. Now he's chronicling it in a series of little comic books. So you should check that out. I don't know how. Can anyone
Oh,
help
my
me out with
goodness.
this? He must have a website.
He broke his little books.
I don't know how, but Joe Sikoriak, maybe if you Google him, it'll take you to his website. He's super talented and a really lovely guy.
Sikoryak.
Yeah. You see, I don't really prepare for these very well. I would have that information at my fingertips, but I don't. And of course, Brian Mix, our video producer, who has been doing an extraordinary job putting these episodes together on YouTube, really great, and also available on video on Spotify. So I'm really enjoying the video versions, as apparently you are, because people seem to be migrating and checking out the video versions. And of course, a very special acknowledgement to Aaron Carlson. Aaron, once again, joined us, brought a bunch of Star Trek V costumes and built the little Treksperts museum on site where there were all these different Star Trek V costumes. And that was a real delight. And I know a lot of people took pictures with the costumes, as did we. And it was funny because we had him on stage for when Shatner arrived. Breezed right past him. Didn't notice. It was dark, though. It was dark in that theater.
And let's not forget John Carney, our social manager.
I started with John Carney.
No, you didn't.
I did. Play back the tape.
You started with Joseph Koriak.
No. I started with John Carney.
Okay.
Yeah, you listen to the tape.
Play
and you'll
the
say,
tape.
"Oh, you said I screwed up. I didn't listen," as you often do. Wasn't listening.
I never don't listen. I'm listening right now.
So Ashley, you don't know this, but you're gonna love this.
I can't wait.
I'm jumping to the end. So Darren and I arrived back in Los Angeles, and the car comes to pick us up to take us home, take him home, take me home. So the driver comes to pick up our luggage, and he looks at us and he says to me, Mr. Mark, is anything else I can get you? Anything you need? No, thank you. We're just exhausted. He goes, is this your father?
Oh my God. This is my Macaulay Culkin thing happening.
And Darren says, no. I said, no, Darren is my podcasting partner in crime. And he goes, no, I'm sorry. I said, don't be. Don't be sorry.
It doesn't bother me. It's not an offense to me.
I'm delighted.
But you know what? The funny thing is, what goes around comes around. My dad and I were riding around back in New Jersey on our bicycles, and someone yelled out, "Hey, Darren, is that your grandpa?" So
Hey, Doctorman, think fast.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It comes around. So I've been waiting for it to circle, and there it was.
Well, I didn't get away scot-free anyway, because Joseph Koriak made these lovely caricatures of the Treksperts. He did a cartoon version of us. And awesome. I'm looking at him thinking, oh, this is great. And then I said, who's that? He said, that's you. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm all gray. It's like, I'm not gray. I have no gray hair except in my beard. My hair is completely black. Why did you draw me as gray? I don't like this at all. Anyway, it was lovely.
Too bad.
Yeah, no, but I like that Joseph Koriak and that John Carney.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And Brian Mix and Aaron Carlson. We had such a good team with us. We had such a good team with us. They kicked ass. We could have done it without them. And by the way, I just want you to know, Aaron Ratner was very appreciative for the stuff we said about him on last week's episode.
Oh, good.
All of it deserved.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He
That's
called me.
Nice.
He said, I listened to the podcast. I said, we're really first time for everything. He goes, that was so nice what you guys said about me. I said, yeah, well, you deserved it. So
it was all lies.
But they were nice lies. Nice lies.
What we suggest is, we go into the bath and slit their wrists. And, like in ancient Rome, and their family was looked after.
The crew that we've assembled, they're a happy band who work hard and they do awesome stuff. And we are completely reliant on them. Reliant. And we are. We're relying on them.
Our Chambers coil has failed.
They help us make this possible. So I don't know that we can say enough nice things about all those people. And they're happy warriors, man. They're awesome.
Yeah, we'll do a little meme. We reliant on you.
Oh my God.
Treksperts explosive reply. Okay, so we get there on Thursday. This is before the con starts. And
your dad.
my dad, Darren, and we rendezvous with Ashley Miller
At the Glade.
at the Glade where we first beamed down, and I said that to somebody this weekend when I said I was going to meet them. I said, because normally we do the Return of the Jedi. We said we'll rendezvous back at Tatooine, but instead it was like, we'll rendezvous back at the Glade where we first beamed down. So Thursday, not a lot to do. We got there fairly late in the day, so we're going to go to dinner. Ashley begged off. I don't blame him. He's a very busy man and a very tired man. So he was the smart one. So
God's a very tired man.
Oh my God, we went to this place. I'm going to say what it's called, Rotini. The reason I mention it is because you don't want to go there.
Oh, wow.
I mean, how long did we wait before a waiter deigned to come by our table?
At least a half hour.
Yeah.
Jesus.
At least a
Which
half
was
hour.
better than the restaurant at the Hilton.
Look, let's just say
God.
that we're not calling anyone out specifically because all the places we went to in San Jose had, let's just say, lackadaisical service.
No, actually,
No,
that's not true. Because Ashley and I, after you went to sleep on Saturday, Ashley and I went for Mexican, and we went to a place called Luna, and it was great.
Like Barbara
The service was great. Yeah, like Barbara Luna.
Barbara Luna.
Yeah.
Except fresher.
Yeah. How does Luna want to fit in? So we went to Luna and Mexican restaurant, and it was terrific. The service was great. The ambience was great. The food was exceptional. It was a terrific. We had a great, really great time. It was the exception to our weekend in terms of bad service and bad food.
Thank God I wasn't there.
Yeah. Oh my, yeah.
I
But
feel like I must have the roadside grill. That can't be right.
the Dry Creek Grill was also good.
Yeah,
Dry Creek Grill was also good. We went on
we
Saturday.
just had some exceptionally bad experiences with so many of these places that we almost forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Saturday night we did go to the Friday night we went to Dry Creek Grill with Mark Guggenheim and Sarah. I was going to say Nakatomi. Sarah Natacheni. Sarah Natacheni will be joining Ashley Miller and Steve Melching on the Cartoon Barroom. She's the voice of Ash Ketchum. We're very excited that she'll be joining the Treksperts podcast network. And we had a great dinner. I know you didn't love the cornbread as much as I, but I thought that was a good dinner.
You did not relish it as much as Mark.
I did not. He did not. That is true. But it was good. And they had that great chocolate chip cookie at the end. And you know how I feel about chocolate chip cookies.
You love chocolate
you do.
chip cookies.
I do love a good chocolate chip cookie, let me tell you. And that was a good chocolate chip cookie. And it had like salted gelato on top of it, salted vanilla gelato. It was really good. It was good. I like that cookie.
Good.
Yeah. But we're not going to let Rotini and the Hilton off the hook. Because remember at the Hilton, how many times did he ask
Succo or whatever it was?
How many times did he ask what our drink was going to be? He came back, he took our order, and he wrote it down, and then he came back and asked again. Like normally that's what happens when the waiter forgets, like they don't write it down. This guy actually wrote it down. And then he forgot. And then he was like, and then I'm like, oh, can I get chips but with no guacamole? He goes, it's on the side. I said, yeah, I get that, but I don't want it. He goes, but it's on the side. I said, but I don't want it. Don't waste the food. And it's like, but you sure? Because it's on the side. It's like, no, I don't want the freaking guacamole.
And then he brings you it, and there it is.
And then he brought it to me, and I just didn't say anything. But even the drinks he couldn't get right. He gave you the cherry Coke. I mean, it was just terrible. It was the whole thing was.
And Darren and I went there for breakfast, and
it's a little better.
It was a little better, except for Sunday when we got into line, and literally
no one came to the booth.
No one at all. And just waiting to get taken to a seat was just, there was a line. And it was like it wasn't there. It wasn't even we'll be right back. We're really busy.
Nothing.
It was just completely ignoring everybody in line. It was inexplicable.
So we walked over to the Marriott and it was great.
Oh, that's good. Well, that was the funny thing about all these places. Even when they weren't crowded, the service was terrible.
Yeah.
Like Rotini, there was no one there. We got there late. And then we were like the last ones there, and they came over and said, oh, I'm sorry, but we're closing up. We really need you guys to leave, right?
Yeah, well, maybe if you'd served us faster, we could have gotten out of here.
Well, and now we're like, well, it would help to have a check. Oh. I mean, it was like, it was so crazy. And we had such a nice group of people that night. It was Mike Broder and Hazel was with us and her husband, Mr. Honeysuckle. And it was nice, but the food was nothing to write home about.
Very odd.
Yeah, very odd. So Friday, what the restaurants? Friday, we kicked off the convention with our interview with Bobby Clark. For those of you who don't know who Bobby Clark is, he played the Gorn in Arena. He also
our panel was merciful and quick.
He also played he was in Mirror Mirror as Chekhov's bodyguard who gets.
And he's the guy who runs out into the street and says, "Festival, festival!"
Can I say I thought that was cooler than the fact he
I
played
thought
the Gorn.
that's cooler than that. Yeah.
Yeah. He jumps through a window. He jumps through a freaking window. It goes festival.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's the unknown stuntman.
Bobby was a lovely guy, but I have to say, didn't remember a lot. Didn't have a lot of memory.
Well,
he did say he got hit in the head too many times.
Well,
but he's a lovely guy, and I was glad we got to spend time with him. It's another one of those rare connections to the original series that are diminishing by the day. And
he's no Gary Lockwood, but he's close.
Well, but you could tell he had stories about Gary that he didn't want to share.
Yeah,
we were trying to get him to talk about Gary.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the difference between Bobby and Gary and Shatner. I mean, Shatner and Gary Lockwood are like, they're not even on this plane in terms of how cool they are and how together they are. And Bobby is a super nice guy, super sweet. And we were so privileged to be able to speak to him and kind of have him as our guest on stage. But you can tell, man, that the years have taken their toll.
Yeah.
It's just
he's a stuntman. And back then it was like there weren't pads, there weren't, safety precautions. They just did it. They were cowboy.
Yeah,
it was cowboy stunts. Yeah. Cowboy fighting.
Your pad was your skull.
Hey, you think you can trip this horse? Sure, I guess.
Sure.
And he said it was even, crazier when he was doing car stunts.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. But I got to say, one day during the convention, he calls me over. I'm walking by. He called me over his booth. I said, "Hey, Gary." I said, "Hey, Bobby, how you doing?" He goes, "Oh, thanks so much. You guys did a great job on that panel. And, I'm sorry I didn't remember more. But, as you get older, you start to forget." I said, "No, you did great. You did great." And I said, "Oh, what's this?" He goes, "Oh, this is my book about my career." And I'm looking at it. I said, "Oh, this is cool." He goes, "Do you want it?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "That's $50. And I'm like, I thought he was giving it to me. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to be chintzy and not buy it? So I give him the $50. And you know what the worst part is? I can't find it.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm looking in the luggage. I'm looking at I can't find it. I don't know where it is. I think I left it in Bella's office or something.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's $50.
Maybe
it's pamphlet.
Maybe he snuck back and got it.
It's like the steal Woody Allen joke. It's like a book on great Jewish sports legends. It's a pamphlet.
Oh.
Yeah. But I actually wanted to read it. I was curious. I had a lot of pictures. Because all kidding aside, he served on the Yorktown. So this is the real deal. I mean, this is a guy who
lived
gave
life.
Service to his lived life and gave service to his country and is a remarkable guy. And I wanted to read. Actually, I wanted to read about his experience during the war and. Now I can't find the book, so I'm gonna have to buy it again, I guess.
Yeah, just get another $50 and.
Man, I was so vexed. I can't. That was the weirdest thing. But people normally give us stuff, right? Because they figure we're gonna mention it on the show, and we're anyway. I mean, it was just the way he put it. It was like, "Oh, would you like it?" Yeah, I would.
I would love it. Well, you know what? You kind of get that speech from, would you like it? And then you're like, yeah, I want it. Yeah, give it to me. $50. Of course, it's not $50 anymore. So I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I should stop speaking right. I forgot I'm not on observations. Let's continue.
You forget you're not a Navy man anymore.
That's right. Yeah. The village people. Okay. So that was Friday, and then Friday night was our nice dinner, and it was so great to see Mark Guggenheim, who we love.
Yeah.
You know, Mark obviously was the showrunner on Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow, but he also recently wrote the Star Trek: The Motion Picture comic for IDW. He's a published author. He has a new novel out, which I went to his booth like 6 times to buy his book, right? Which I was willing to pay for because I wanted to support Mark. He was never there. I every time now I know how it feels. I went to his booth 6 times to get got the book, and he was not there. It was very frustrating.
The hand's on the other foot now, isn't it?
And he's like, "Oh, I want to meet all the Star Trek stars that you guys know. I want to meet all the Star Trek stars." So okay, I said, "We'll bring you. We'll introduce you." He was never there.
Yeah. Is it weird that we're jaded about that now? We're like, yeah, okay. We'll introduce you to the Star Trek stars we know.
No, we're not jaded. We just want people to be at their booths. Everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody should be at their booth at the Red Hour. Not me.
Festival.
Yeah, I'm going to go through a window one day. I'm sure. I almost have a couple of times, not by intentionally. So it was great. We had a great time with Mark, and obviously always a great time with Sarah Nadjeni. Really good conversation, really good food. And really good cornbread, if you ask me. Darren, not so much.
It was fine. It was a
You
little
didn't
gummy.
like it.
Little gummy.
Little gummy from. What'd you have for dinner?
I had the bacon wrapped meatloaf. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I ate the chicken. It was really good. Barbecue chicken. It was really good.
Yeah.
I didn't get the steak. I didn't get any steak this trip.
Yeah, the ribeye
Steak
was
is
really
too
good.
much. Steak is too much.
Well, I don't think so. If you get an 8-ounce fillet, but the thing was, if I'm not going to a steak restaurant, a place that specializes, there's a steakhouse, I'm not going to get the steak because then it's not. My expectations are not that high. I only want to get at a good steakhouse. Plus, we had Peter Luger's 2 weeks ago, and we had Voodoo Steakhouse. It was plenty of steak recently.
It's Richard Dreyfuss in Stakeout.
Oh, geez.
Oh, my
God. Oh, my goodness.
What?
Jesus. So Saturday morning, we had a great panel. Really great panel with Bob Picardo from Voyager.
That was awesome.
This was a nice one. We got an opportunity to talk about his work on Legend, of course, his amazing work on the Joe Dante movies, and then Voyager as well. And he had some funny stories about all those. I mean, he's very articulate, and he really remembers stuff, which is nice. He really has he remembers all these great stories. In fact, I was talking to him because he had done an episode of television for me many years ago, and I said, "Oh, remember when you did the show and we brought you to Comic-Con with Jeff Fahey and I forget who else it was." And he goes, "I totally remember that." He said, "That's the photo of me they used from San Diego. It's been on, everywhere, like ever since. The only photo they ever showed me is from Comic-Con. Is when I was on your panel, when you came, and it was really funny." But he remembered we were talking about that, and and how great Darren Scott was who directed it. So it was a fun time. Yeah, it was a fun time. I like that Bob Picardo a lot.
Yeah, he was great.
And then you did a terrific panel with Dave Blass about rebuilding the Enterprise.
We talked about the whole process of redoing the Enterprise D bridge, and he had a great slideshow and showed the process of going from blank stage to completed set that they used for 2 days and then dismantled.
Wow, man.
Yeah, but you forgot the other 5 days when they were taking pictures of everyone. Because, man, there are more pictures floating around of everyone who worked on Picard.
All of that happened in the space of a day.
Yeah, I know, I'm kidding. But it's so funny.
Kidding.
There's so many pictures of everyone on that set.
Well, that was the time to get them.
Everyone who had to keep their mouth shut for an entire year.
Yeah. But I think it leaked at Vegas because I remember someone was talking about it. So no, it's not true. It's impossible.
It's impossible.
But I have to say, Dave is such a big fan of Star Trek and such a carrying the banner for Star Trek. Yeah. And he's been going to a lot of these conventions, doing great panels, and he's a good guy. I'm glad.
And he appreciates the history that he is bringing forward.
He does. He really values the history. I mean, it's a testament to him, and he talked about it a little on the show, that when he got hired, the first thing he did was reach out to people like the Akutas and Drexler to get the band back together.
Yeah.
Which was great.
And me.
And then, of course, Peabody Award winning.
That's right.
DAREN Doctorman.
Mark Altman's father.
Mark's dad.
Wow. Oh, you'll pay. I don't know how. I don't know when, but you will.
Someday we're in the old folks' home sitting on the porch, like thinking that we're doing a podcast. We're just talking.
That's pretty much now, Ash.
Yeah, that's true.
That's pretty much now.
People are like, when are they going to talk about Star Trek instead of their freaking meals?
We talk about Star Trek at the meals.
Yeah. We talk about Star Trek all the freaking time.
Yeah,
all the
that's
time.
true.
That's why we have a podcast.
It's a pretty good show.
It's okay.
So, speaking of shows, on Saturday night we did the quiz show with Rafe Needleman, the original Arganian quizmaster. And this was interesting because we did it at Star Trek Las Vegas, and it was a big success. And we thought we'd try try it again at I'm in Interface. Look at that. I'm going in and out of.
Yeah, it's disturbing, honestly. Did you leave us a message about how we're just going to have to work together without you and how you're relying on us?
You can't hate reliant on each other. You can't hate each other. Hold on.
Right. Halfway through recording this episode, we're going to fire Ralph Sinensky.
Mark has to make sure that his screen is bright so that it lights him up, or else he disappears.
That's right.
And I'm gone. Just like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
He loses molecular cohesion.
See, you would lose all this if you weren't watching on YouTube right now.
Yeah, exactly. This would mean nothing to you.
There you go.
Nothing. I just had to turn on some more lights in the studio. So anyway.
Right. The quiz show.
So it was, this was a lot of fun because we had Evan Evagora from Picard, and we had Cynthia Gao from Star Trek V: The Final Frontier, Caitlin Dar, and we also had Hazel Honeysuckle. And oh my God, that girl who was paired with Evan, it was so cute. She was so like nervous and excited and enamored. Like it was exactly what you want from one of these panels. And then Cynthia had this guy, Nick, who's a great guy. Clearly, he knew a lot about Star Trek. He was so excited to be with Cynthia. And then we had this other girl, a young girl, who was with Hazel. And we want to thank our friends at Factory Entertainment that gave us a bunch of great prizes, La La Land Records, some terrific soundtracks. So no one left. And of course, we'd like to thank the Treksperts for those great Treksperts t-shirts. So no one left unhappy. Everyone left. But I thought it went really well. I thought it was a really fun panel. People had a good time. I think we're going to try and do it more often.
Yeah, I think we kind of got the system down for that quiz show. I think it was a little bit of a shakedown cruise in Vegas, but I think it really worked well here. I think my favorite part was that girl who was paired with Evan, who was just so nervous to be sitting next to him. Yeah. She was just shaking the entire time, and he was so nice to her. He was so nice. I'm glad they did well.
He was so nice to her, and and she they were all great, and and we try not to be mean, because the whole thing is like it's so funny. The actors always say to us, "But I don't know anything about Star Trek." That's the fun of it, because then the fans get to be the hero. They get to be the stars.
That's right.
But it turns out most of them don't know anything about Star Trek either.
Well, they just get nervous, and I think they just vapor lock, dude.
Yeah. But then the audience comes to the rescue, and that's part of the fun, too.
I just like that Cynthia and her partner got the question. Nimbus 3 is the planet of galactic what?
Oh, yeah, and that wasn't planned at all. That was a total accident, which was great. That Cynthia, that was the one she thinks she knew.
Yeah. She didn't.
Yeah. We love Cynthia Gao. We've been spending a lot of time with Cynthia. She came to Vegas with us and signed and did the panel there. And then she was in San Jose with us. And she's just delightful.
She's awesome and unchanged, apparently.
Yeah.
From 35 years ago.
It is a little unsettling. It's like, I think, maybe she's got a portrait in the attic. Or there's something happening. But yeah. unchanged.
If there's ever a chance to do a director's edition or a special edition of Star Trek V, we got to let her reloop her performance.
Totally.
So it's not the dub version, but it could be her actual voice.
Because she can do that voice. That's what's funny.
Totally. She totally can. Yeah, I think she'd be good.
Yeah.
It's so unfair because the loop version was so flat, but it wasn't her fault. Because if you see her scene on the DVD, the deleted scene, she's good. She's good. So anyway, add that to the list.
Someday.
Okay, so that was nice. And so we were exhausted that night. Everybody went to bed. And then Ashley and I suddenly realized that we were hungry and went and got Mexican food.
Exactly.
I know. And we didn't know where we were going. And we finally show up and we thought, we were like, what part of town is this? Obviously, where the good restaurants are.
And Mark was like that dog who smelled dog food, and he was led by his nose to this Mexican place.
Yeah, he was like sort of floating there, like along the scent.
Luna was really good. Great waiter, great service, and the bread pudding for dessert.
You know why?
Chef's kiss.
Because you didn't have your dad with you.
I didn't have my dad. That's right.
Dad doesn't like Mexican.
Yeah, because he's smart. What?
My dad and that's when I first started eating Mexican. We started going to Chi-Chi's. Remember Chi-Chi's?
Oh, sure. Oh, God.
Yeah, that was that chain Mexican place. I thought that was good Mexican back then.
Yeah.
Shows you what I knew as a teenager or whatever I was. No, it wasn't. But I was like, let's go to Chi-Chi's. Like that Chi-Chi's. Okay. Anyway. So moving on. That gets us Sunday. Now this was a day.
Sunday was a marathon, but it was amazing.
Yeah. So it's really funny because we were sitting on Saturday with Gates and Denise in the green room, and Denise was talking about how she doesn't like breakfast. And everybody's like, what do you mean you don't like breakfast? And I'm like, I get it. I don't like breakfast either. And she said, yeah, you know what I like to have in the morning? I said, no, what do you like to have in the morning, Denise? She goes, I like to have a margarita pizza. It's like, really? She goes, yeah, it's too bad our panel's so early tomorrow. And then the light bulb went over our collective heads. Yeah. So the panel starts 11 o'clock, and we're about 10 minutes into the panel talking to Denise about her career, specifically Trekkies. And then all of a sudden, delivery man comes in holding a pizza. He goes, delivery for Miss Crosby. Miss Crosby. Is there Miss Crosby here? And we did the whole Fast Times bit with Spicoli and had it delivered to the stage. She was dying. It was so funny. It couldn't have gone better. And she loved the pizza. Apparently, it was delicious. And it gave us a whole conversation to have about what's the best pizza, New York, Chicago, or San Jose pizza, and what's the best New York pizza. So it was not the original Rays. Don't believe them. Don't trust them. So that was a great panel too.
Even besides that, it was a great panel.
She was really terrific. And other than one question, the questions were really good too. Remember that one question that was pretty dopey, but the rest of them were really good. Yeah.
Well,
you know what question I'm talking about? Should I say?
Go ahead.
No,
I don't. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Say it.
Go ahead.
Why don't the villains disintegrate people with their phasers? Why do they always stun people? Like, why is that, Denise?
Yeah, Denise.
Tell us. Tell us now.
Tell us, Jim.
So the damn question.
Oh,
don't wait for the translation. Answer me now.
See, the actors can't say this, but we can because we're the assholes. But anyway, it was very nice, and the person who asked it was clearly a very nice person.
Absolutely.
You just asked a weird question.
Yeah, exactly. But it was a super fun panel, and
totally.
Yeah, and really enjoyed it. And then we're like, okay, is this day over yet? Because we were freaking exhausted, but it was only beginning, because next we had Terry Farrell.
Mm-hmm.
And Darren and I are sitting there. Ashley had to be somewhere else at that moment. So Darren and I are sitting there to do the panel when I get a call. Ralph Sineski is in the building. Orange alert. I'm not going to say black alert because that's bullshit. Orange alert from the prisoner.
That's correct. Yes.
So I'm like, and I get summoned. He's in the green room. I'm like, we'd spent weeks arranging for Ralph Sinetsky to come. And obviously, he's 101 years old, no clue where he was going, had a huge entourage, including an oxygen tank and a wheelchair.
Time is a luxury you don't have.
Yeah.
And the fire in which we burn.
So I'm like, Darren, do you mind doing this panel yourself? And he goes, one-on-one with Terry? No problem. Have fun. So I dashed out and left Darren alone. And apparently it was a fantastic panel. I should actually do less panels, apparently.
You should listen to it.
Yeah.
Let your dad do this stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone was telling me,
Ask
that
Dad.
panel that Darren and Terry did was fantastic. So I'm like, okay. Well, that's good to know.
Well,
and your Superman panel with Ed Gross was supposedly fantastic.
I almost forgot about that. No,
Yeah,
that
me
was
too.
a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you about my morning.
Yeah.
The reason why I wasn't around for Denise and then later for Ralph, which I really regret, was I basically spent the morning with the stage manager and the camera crew and the tech guys at the main stage for something I know we're going to talk about a lot more coming up, but for the Star Trek V commentary. And all that went through my head as I'm sitting there going, well, do it this way and put this here and do what was, Jesus Christ, if this looks like shit, I am never gonna hear the end of it if this doesn't work. And so that was my anxiety for next 12 hours. But it all worked out, man. It was like, okay, so today, Sunday, I'm producing, which is fun. Actually, I liked it. But I do look, I've had the opportunity to talk to Denise, and she's always lovely. And obviously, I talked to Terry, and she's fantastic.
And you've eaten pizza.
And I've eaten pizza. I know what that is. My only regret is that I didn't get to meet Ralph Sinetsky, but I was terrified of disrupting what was happening in the panel room and, what we were trying to get on camera with him. And I hung back, and then I left early to go.
Wait, did you not get to meet him at all?
I didn't get to meet him at all, dude, because I had to get up and take off with the camera crew.
He had to go off to blow you to bits.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so sorry because, so I went to the green room. And so I got there because the plan had been to bring Bill to meet Ralph. They hadn't seen each other since the last day of Tholian Web. So I got there just as Bill was coming in to see Ralph. And he was genuinely moved, like they both were. And it was this remarkable moment where Shatner and Ralph were together and reliving old days and talking about the past. And it was extraordinary. And then Bill had to go to do a signing. And so I was talking to Ralph, and then I see Terry Farrell come in from the panel with Darren. And of course, Terry is a huge original Star Trek fan, but she's also from Ohio, and so is Ralph.
Iowa.
So from Iowa.
I only work in outer space.
Yeah, so I call her over, and she is so sweet to him. She said, I used to play Star Trek as a kid. She played Star Trek as an adult too. And she was so kind to him, and he was so excited to talk to her. And then we took him out on the floor, and it was like bringing out royalty. Dave Blass came and talked to him for a while. Everybody was just like, oh my God. And he felt so special. He had his family his and his friends with him. And it was so nice. And he said, he's like, I've never been to a Star Trek convention. So after all these years, he finally had a chance to go to a Star Trek convention to see Bill Shatner, which was like amazing for both of them. And then we brought him to the panel, and it was packed. Packed. Which my big worry was like, what if we throw this party and no one comes, right? And it was packed. And so Darren, first of all, he says, "Where's Ashley?" Which I thought was very sweet. And he's like, he's busy taking care of a lot of stuff. I know he wants to be
dead.
But
if you see him, run.
And but he was so complimentary. He actually sent me a second email. He said, first thanking us for reuniting with Bill, for bringing him to the convention. He said, I'm so appreciative of the Treksperts and to GalaxyCon. And they sent a second email saying a special thank you to you and Darren that wonderful interview. He said, "You guys were so wonderful in the way you took me through my career and asked questions, and just," he said, it was terrific, and he was so happy. And I mean, he was in tears at one point when he was talking about the letter he got from Leonard.
From This Side of Paradise.
From This Side of Paradise. And it's like, I almost wanted to reach over and console him because it was like, it was so moving, and I mean, it's just like, I couldn't believe we were sitting here with the only living director of the original Star Trek who did This Side of Paradise, top 10 episode. Brendan Serkis's, one of our favorite episodes. Obsession, one of our most Scott Mance's favorite episode. Obsession, one of our most quoted episodes.
Right.
Is There in Truth No Beauty? An episode. And of course Tholian
part
Web.
of the Tholian Web.
Yeah. Part of the which we absolutely love. It was so special.
He's living history.
He's living history. And he said he was just so, we had a bunch of pictures. John Carney took some pictures. I took some pictures. Mike Broder took some pictures. And he said, like, this is immortalizing it was Mount Rushmore. It was Shatner and Ralph Sinetsky together. I mean, it was extraordinary. And, it's crazy. People say, we're like Forrest Gump. We find ourselves in the middle of all this history.
I'd rather call us Zelig.
or Mark's dad. Either one.
Or Mark's dad. Yeah. Mark's dad, Zelig.
Yeah. Is it like Stacy's mom? No, definitely.
No,
not.
she's got it going on.
She's got it going on.
Good for her.
Yeah.
By the way, I did see that panel. You guys did do a terrific job with him. He was it was amazing to sort of sit back there and receive it in that way and be among the audience as they were they were all into every word. They were hanging on every word that the man had to say. It was really quite something. And when I walked in there just after it started, I had to take a seat, and I was going to take a seat in the back anyway, out of the way. I didn't want to be a distraction, but I had to take a seat in the back because that's all that was available. It was really, really a great panel.
I mean, I wish you would come up because he did ask about you several times.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I had to move so he could hear me through his good ear. Right. Yeah. And I was like repeating Darren's question, the audience's questions. So it might have been logistically a little complicated. Yeah. But I'm just glad that you could be there to share this, because even when we had him on the show, part of he's like, I've talked about Star Trek a lot. We said, no, that's okay. We want to talk about The Paper Chase, and we want to talk about Casablanca. And we want to talk about all these other shows, not so much the Waltons, but we want to talk about all these other shows. And he was like, oh, great. That sounds great.
But this was all Star Trek.
This was all Star Trek. And so it was really exciting and terrific. And it was interesting because I remember, when, we first talked to him about coming out, he said, oh, are Mike and Denise going to be there? And we're like, no, unfortunately. He said, I love Mike and Denise. They interviewed me for the Roddenberry Vault. Right. And then, and they said, oh, Scott Mann's going to be there. He interviewed me for Enterprise. I said, like, no, he's not going to be
just
there.
Us.
He said, so who's going to do the interview? I'm like, we're going to do the interview. And he's like, oh, yeah, you that's right. You're the Treksperts. You had me on the show. That's great. So that was funny. But then, we had to say our quick goodbyes because we had to be somewhere else.
Very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
This next thing has been planned for almost 2 years, actually. The germ of the idea came 2 years ago, and its fruition was nothing short of amazing, to be quite honest. Thanks to the dedication of Mike Broder and his staff, they made this happen. And we had a hand in it as well.
Mike's a miracle worker. Yeah. He's the real miracle worker.
Yeah. Forget Scotty.
But
it was a live commentary with the film of Star Trek V with William Shatner. I mean, if you had told, my 20-year-old self when the movie came out that we'd be doing this, I wouldn't have believed you. And I said, you're an idiot. And that would have been that. But this is truly a dream come true to get him to watch not only himself, but the film that he made is incredible.
But, for me, it was, yes, totally with you on all of that. There was another facet to this that I'm still wrestling with. I mean, what I thought about when I was sitting on stage was, it wasn't 20-year-old me in the movie. It was 5-year-old me, 6-year-old me, when I first became aware of Star Trek and Captain Kirk, and understanding that I'm sitting on that stage with William Shatner, that we're doing this. But it's not just that we were doing a commentary on the film that he made. It wasn't just about that.
No.
What struck me the most, what hit the hardest, was that we were helping this man who we revere and adore and love from afar. We were helping him to feel good about something that for so long has made him feel bad.
For so long has been his secret pain.
Exactly. And we brought some joy into his life about it. We made him laugh. We made him comfortable. We made it okay for him to talk and to just let some of these things out that he's been carrying with him. We did more than just sit on a stage and talk to William Shatner and watch a movie. I feel like we, for maybe just some brief period of time, I feel like we made his life better. I mean, and I know maybe that's like overstating it, but it's how it felt.
I think there is an element of that.
Moving.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He should have been lying on a couch.
Yeah. If he had switched places with us, he could have been.
It was like therapy, I think. And, obviously it's a little different for me because, obviously I made a movie with him. So I spent some, a lot of nights and a lot of time with Bill and got to know him pretty well. And we've been through death and life together. But this was different.
Yeah.
Because this was a chance to give something back to him, like to feel good about this movie that he made, which I get, I think embarrassed him. And, he succeeded at everything he's ever set out to do in his life. And in a way, this was perceived, fairly or not, as a failure. And I think we have had a lot to do with the reevaluation of the merits of this movie. And, Bill York, one of our listeners, wrote something very nice on Twitter today. He said, you guys were so great about not taking the spotlight off of Bill, but teeing things up and guiding the conversation and sort of explaining what was great about the movie without getting in Bill's way, and facilitating. You were facilitators. I think that's what we had set out to do. And I think that's what we did. I mean, when he introduced the film, he had a lovely introduction. And then he said, okay, well, let's watch the film. And that's when I said, well, we can. He goes, why not? And I said, because you haven't called action. And I felt that set it off on the right note. And great. We proceeded to, have a really spirited conversation about it in which he was incredibly candid. Yeah. There are not many filmmakers, if you listen to these audio commentaries on Blu-ray and DVD and Laserdisc, who are that brutally honest about a project that they've made. And he's like, this is TV direction. Where are the extras? Where's the texture? I mean, he was so, but then he could also, but he started to appreciate the things that we appreciated in it.
Yeah.
That beautiful scene where Sybok offers to take away their pain.
Yeah.
What does God need with the starship? Larry Luckenbill's performance. Yeah. And to be able to tell him how much Larry appreciates the movie and appreciated Bill.
Yeah.
Meant a lot, not only to Shatner, but to Larry.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I remember there's several great moments for me personally in that, but I was so delighted that during the beginning, where we see Captain Kirk scaling the side of the cliff, I told him, "Well, Bill, you know that you're scaling you." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "It's El Capitan." And the look on his face made me realize he never thought of that. He never realized it.
Yeah.
But it was so magical, and the whole thing was just great. And, we were calling out the great shots that he had done, and acknowledging his inspirations from Ford,
David Lean.
John Ford, David Lean, Orson Welles. I mean, that scene with the Spock and McCoy getting their pain taken away is pure Welles. It is a stage play.
Yes, you pointed
wonderful.
that out, that it could have been Greg Toland and Citizen Kane, which I thought was a really great point. And that's why when you started going in about would you ever consider revisiting this, like Star Trek The Motion Picture, and doing a director's edition and revisit, and he said, no, I don't think so. And I said, which version of Touch of Evil do you prefer? The original Welles, studio cut, or the reconstituted version based on Orson Welles' notes? He goes, well, the reconstituted version based on Orson Welles' notes. I said, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And I hope that resonated, because I really would love, that would be the logical next step to this, seeing Star Trek V,
as it was meant to be. One warrior to another.
Re-edited, recolor timed, and with new special effects. It's a different movie. It will be completely. It will change the perception of this movie even more than Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Absolutely. I
think my only claim to fame in this whole process was making the man laugh with a toilet joke.
Yes.
But that's what I do. That's my job.
That's your job.
Well, if
Captain Kirk laugh, that's the important thing.
If the video of this ever gets out, if it's ever released or ever available to people, I think the joy was the looks that he would shoot to us when he would smile or laugh or of appreciation as we took him through the movie.
Which is why I asked you to sit back a little bit, because you were totally blocking him from my view.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. The light of his smile, Mark.
I was looking at I was looking at the monitor, because that was something else someone said on Twitter. They said, "Oh, he's not facing the screen, so he famously doesn't like to watch his own performances."
No, we had a monitor right in front of him.
We had a monitor right in front of us.
He was absolutely watching his own performance.
He absolutely was. And not only that, but as he told us, he had watched the movie 2 weeks earlier to prepare. But what's so interesting is he said he rented it. He didn't even own a copy.
That tells you
amazing
so much, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's the entire story in a sentence.
Yeah, that was extraordinary. But and I got to tell you, because at the end I'm thinking this was great for Bill, and he was profusely appreciative.
Yeah,
and it was great for us. But I'm like, what did other people think? And the audience was so complimentary. We could not go 15 feet without people stopping us and telling us how phenomenal it was. And even when we went to dinner later, people were stopping us on the street to tell us how amazing it was, and how transcendent it was, and how much they appreciated it, had never seen anything like it. And that was really nice. And I have to say, the audience was our partner, because they never laughed at the film. They only laughed with the film.
Yep,
and that helped. That gave Shatner the confidence to be raw and unfiltered and honest. And that's what made it such a special night.
He showed his raw nerve.
He did.
He was very human with us.
He was so human.
And I mean, look,
Human.
if you could track, the change in his demeanor from when he walked in, just through the handshake.
He was worried.
100%.
He was worried at the beginning.
He was scared to death.
Yeah, he was very he was terse. The handshake was kind of firm, and it was just, it wasn't perfunctory, but it kind of was. And then he sort of sat, and he was very concerned with how things were going to go. But by the end, when he said goodbye, it was like the handshake is a double handshake. It's clasp, and he's smiling and looking us in the eye. And the man, it was just the burden was lifted. It was gone. It was astonishing. And honestly,
magical.
that is the only experience that I ever have in Shatner's presence in terms of actually interacting with him, man. I think that's a pretty freaking good one. That's the one to have.
Well, and it's funny because afterwards, Steve Asbell said to me, "How can I see this? Me and Kevin want to see it right away."
Meaning Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel.
Yeah. And it's like, well, we'll see what we can do. Yeah. And I got that from a bunch of other people. Same thing with Guggenheim. He's like, Shatner was on my flight. I could have made it. Why didn't I go? Because they were, and Dave Blass was extremely complimentary, and I'm very grateful because he took some of the best pictures of the event. Because we always, we don't like to take pictures with the talent because it's just like we don't like. It's not about us; it's about them. Yeah. So
we're facilitators.
So it's nice that Dave took some nice pictures of us on stage with Bill.
Well, Dave is an amazing photographer. He's
very good.
He has a rock and roll photography track on Instagram that's amazing.
Where can we get these wonderful photos?
Well, we've used them on social. I mean, it's not a lot. Okay. There's one or two of them that we've used.
I'll grab some.
Yeah. So, but we're very grateful for it. And we ran into him at the hotel when we got back, and he was just gushing about how great it was. Because, the one thing we don't realize is that people aren't as familiar with these stories as we are.
Right.
Of everything that went wrong. And, I think one of the things that probably shocked me the most that I didn't know was that he didn't get to pick any of his keys.
Yeah.
Right. And Andrew Laszlo, his DP, was given to him. Herman Zimmerman, his production designer, was given to him. All these people, he had nothing to say about it.
They treated him like a TV director.
They did. They treat him like a TV director.
And you know what? Let's not say they, okay? Because what they does is they takes the responsibility away from the person that kind of going through all this stuff. And there's a very consistent narrative that emerges through the conversation with Shatner and how he spoke about these things and what came up. They is let's not shit ourselves. It's Harv Bennett. Like the quintessential villain of this piece is Harv Bennett. And whether it was he simply was checked out or he was sabotaging Bill or whatever was going on, he was not a friend to that production during the making of that movie. He was not a friend to Star Trek during the making of that movie.
He was definitely not a friend to Bill.
Absolutely not.
And I was very pleased. However, to hear him praise Ralph Winter, because obviously we've become friendly with Ralph. And I was only hoping that there was an animosity with Ralph. And he said, no, Ralph was great. He said, I love Ralph. He said, Harv was the problem. Yep. Because Harv felt he had something to prove after Leonard Nimoy kicked him off the set of Star Trek 4, and after he the Academy years. Was not being embraced by the studio, and just not. It's really unfortunate.
It's not to be.
Part of me thinks he wanted it to crash and burn, but can't prove that. That's just my opinion. One guy's opinion.
That would have opened the way for the Academy years because he was pushing that after the 5, and and then they did 6, and he wasn't involved in 6.
Yep.
So who knows? I mean, again, this is part of this Trek-ucation, Trek archaeology we talk about, or I talk about, where we're always finding out something new. There's like layers and layers and layers. And that's what's so great about the history of Star Trek. There's always more to tell.
Right. Yeah, true.
Yeah, so a really remarkable evening, and deeply, deeply grateful, as Darren said, to Mike Broder, who made this all possible. His passion, his fandom, his love of Bill, his love of Star Trek, the festival of fandom that is GalaxyCon, paving the way for this to happen, and his acumen, allowed this to be possible, and we're so grateful to have this opportunity. It was very, very special for all of us, especially Bill. But you know what wasn't special, boys?
Oh, God.
The House of Pizza. House of Pizza. House of Pizza. Oh, my God. That place was awful.
I think I dodged a bullet. I bowed out at the very last minute because I was just wiped.
The best part about that, Darren, was that it was like a 5 to 6 minute walk. And you're like, I can't walk. And so we
I
called
couldn't.
an Uber, and then we were waiting for the Uber, and you're like, I'm going to go to bed. But it was close enough to when the Uber was going to arrive. We couldn't cancel the Uber. So you went to bed. We got in the Uber to basically go
2 minutes later.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I think I'm still digesting that pizza. This is a review that our DP wrote about the restaurant on Yelp or something. He goes, 1 star. Went over here with a big group after a long weekend. The staff were grumpy and unfriendly. I don't even think they disliked us. I think they just hated themselves for still working there. The entire restaurant feels like an unsanitized TGA Fridays with bizarre random detritus tossed around the walls and ceilings in search of charming, but landing on alarming.
Wow.
No table service, but they still ask for a tip. We're given paper plates to eat on, literally dragged off the dollar store shelf. Flimsy, floppy paper plates, still semi-chemically attached to each other in the stacks they break off and toss at you. But that's not all you get from the dollar store. The pizza was atrocious. It looked and tasted like someone had tried their hand at a cardboard-packed pre-made pizza salvaged from the darker end of the freezer aisle.
Sweet.
I actually did a double take when I tried it because I assumed I had missed my bite and landed purely by accident on the paper plate. Which, if that were the case, would have been the only nice thing I'd have to say about this place. Pizza sucks, but the paper plates taste better than any other I've tried.
My goodness.
Jesus H. Christ. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. But here's the thing. As terrible as the food was, I didn't care. Like, I didn't notice because I was still just buzzing from having had that experience with Bill. Yeah. And also, the important thing about that particular meal wasn't about going out and having the meal. It was about going out with the people who had come to San Jose to help us out, to support us, to be our team, to make it all work, to make it all go. Mm-hmm. They were all so fantastic.
Like the Packlets, they made it go.
They made it go, except they're smart, unlike the Packlets. They actually are smart. We need them badly. And it was just the perfect capper, other than, the food was terrible. But the camaraderie was great.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And we were joined by Evan Evergora and his friend Shane. Always great to hang out with Evan, who's just such a nice guy.
He's a darling.
He is. And so
we
had our whole we had our whole team with us. And, as our convention appearances grow in scope, we've needed to have more help because we're stronger with you than without you. We can't do it alone. And so it's been really great having this team of people that have volunteered to come and help us out.
Team.
Yeah.
Team.
But it was a really terrific weekend. It was another great GalaxyCon. We'll be back at GalaxyCon in Columbus, Ohio in December. Which we're looking forward to. That's a great convention. We've been there a couple of times now. Can't wait to go back. And they're expanding next year into several new cities. So you want to check that out at galaxycon.com. Who knows what the future holds? You know what I didn't tell you? I didn't tell you guys. So
we forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I got a couple of texts yesterday. One was from Frakes saying, so I heard the Shatter thing went great. Congratulations. And then I got one from Terry Farrell, who said, so everyone's talking about the Shatter thing. I hear it went really well. Congrats. So that was nice. I mean, and I said to Frakes, I said, you must have spies everywhere. It's like, I don't know where everybody's hearing about this Shatter thing. So we got to get John to do First Contact one day.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Thunderbirds.
Or Thunderbirds. Yeah. So, but anyway, a really, really remarkable time at GalaxyCon San Jose. Their first convention in San Jose. It obviously won't be their last. They kicked it off in style. I don't see how you top this one, but I'm sure, knowing Mike and his team, they will. And we're just really excited to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Always excited and grateful.
Much joy and gratitude.
I'm sure our other adventures will be far more interesting than this one, number one.
Yeah, and I want to remind our listeners that Deck 78 is back. And now when you become a Treksperts Plus subscriber, you not only get you get commercial-free episodes of Deck 78 because they will be available a month after they drop, but with commercials. So if you want commercial-free Deck 78, you want to become a Treksperts Plus subscriber. Plus, we're going to start the screening series in September, so you'll also have a chance to join us on Discord for our Treksperts Plus subscribers to watch some upcoming films. So you can have the same experience we had with Trek 5, but with a succession of Star Trek and other sci-fi films. So you don't want to miss that. Join Treksperts Plus today, and the excitement keeps on coming wherever you listen to podcasts. And of course, we're now on YouTube, so you want to check us out on YouTube, the video version of the podcast, as well as on Spotify on video. Of course, the audio podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts. So that may be what you're listening to right now. And coming up this fall is the rest of the 7th season of 4:30 Movie, as well as the 2nd season of Cartoon Barroom. Lots of excitement to look forward to, as well as the end of our 6th season of Inglorious Treksperts.
My goodness.
And we'll be kicking off our 7th season in September.
With our
right around
12-part
Star Trek
holiday
Day.
special.
Well, that won't be kicking off the season. That's September. Well, the holiday specials don't happen until Thanksgiving, so we have a month or so, at least before the holiday specials kick
Also,
off.
36-part holiday special.
Yeah, and we'll continue to share some select panels from Star Trek Las Vegas, as well as panels from our GalaxyCon. Some of these will be available only on Deck 78 and will not be available to all. So you may want to again subscribe at trekspertsplus.com. Those episodes may not be available to all our listeners, just to Deck 78 subscribers. So again, if you haven't subscribed to Deck 78, you want to do that now. Plus, I think we'll have to release the clip of Shatner talking about Deck 78 from our commentary.
Yes.
Right.
The only thing
There's an endorsement.
we talked about Deck 78, but we didn't talk about wouldn't it have been cool if it had been Gary Mitchell as God?
That's true. That's true. I completely forgot.
And then he would have looked at you and said, who?
Who?
What? Don't tell me how to do it. It sickens me.
Right.
Yeah. So, by the way, speaking of which, I was joking about John Simpson telling me what to say about Star Trek 5.
Right.
So, of course, he watched the episode, didn't appreciate the comment.
Oh.
But I like John. I said that. I was only kidding. I like John. I was thrilled to have him on the panel. He's a good guy. I was joking around, but I'm not sure he took it in the spirit it was intended. But
I really wanted him to play Urko in a Planet of the Apes reboot.
well, we know Galen, so maybe now we can get Urko too.
Galen from Star Trek?
Speaking of which, did you see that Dynamite Comics is going to be doing Thundar the Barbarian comics?
No way.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, huh?
Ariel, Lukla,
Crazy.
Ride.
Yeah.
It's
Dark
like, no.
magic, super science.
What are they going to do
Come on
next?
now.
The black hole?
Never.
Well, anyway, look, GalaxyCon was great, and we had so many other great panels to share with you, so many great episodes coming up. So hopefully you'll keep it on the Treksperts and continue to follow us on social media, not only on Discord, but on YouTube and all your favorite social media channels, and Inglorious Trek and Inglorious Treksperts. There's a lot going on, and the summer of Treksperts may be over, but the fall is just beginning. And you want to be with us every step of the way, because we ain't done yet. Sinetsky, Shatner, and the rest are only the beginning of some of the tricks we have up our proverbial sleeves, and we hope you'll join us as we continue to bring you the greatest Trekication in the land.
I promise
Hey,
you, I'm
guys.
not finished yet.
So, on behalf of my dad, Darren DOCHTERMAN, and Ashley Edward Miller, keep on trekking, ingloriously, of course. And gay.